In the days long before the Roman Empire had reached the peak of its fame, a determined and ambitious general named Julius Caesar stood on the edge of destiny, gazing out across the rugged mountains and forests of Gaul. Before him lay a vast territory, wild lands inhabited by proud and fierce Celtic tribes, men whose courage had long been known to Rome, whose warriors had once sacked the very city itself centuries earlier, and who still remained the Republic's most ancient rival. It was the year 58 EC, and Rome was a city in turmoil. Politics had plunged it into years of civil strife and bitterness. Powerful noble families struggled for dominance. Generals rose and fell in cycles of brutal violence, and the Republic was faltering, weary from a half-century of internal conflict. Amid this chaos, Julius Caesar, ambitious but mired in debt after a turbulent year as consul, knew he needed glory, wealth, and victory on the battlefield. Gaul, he understood, could provide him with each. The Senate had reluctantly granted Caesar command over 3 important territories: Cisalpine Gaul, Illyricum, and Transalpine Gaul, and along with them, control over 4 battle-hardened legions, totaling nearly 22,000 disciplined soldiers. Caesar knew exactly what fate had handed him: an opportunity to secure his legacy. All he needed was a spark, a reason, no matter how tenuous, to launch a campaign into Gaul. Far beyond the Roman frontier, in the cold Alpine foothills, this spark began to flicker. A proud Celtic tribe, known as the Helvetii, prepared for a great migration in search of new fertile lands in central Gaul. Ambitious and fiercely independent, their charismatic leader was a nobleman named Orgetorix. He successfully united several neighboring tribes, the Tulingi, Latabrigi, and Raratsi, and even the mighty warriors of the Boii tribe, into a coalition determined to leave their ancestral homes behind and seek a brighter destiny. In a gesture of determination, Orgetorix convinced his people to set fire to their villages, burning homes and farms, leaving behind them no possibility of retreat. The message was clear: only onward to glory or utter ruin. But fate had another plan. Orgetorix was soon accused by the Helvetii chieftains of harboring tyrannical ambitions. Isolated and betrayed, he chose death over humiliation and disgrace, leaving the migration plan in the hands of his bold successor, Divico. Divico, a seasoned warrior and elder among his people, would not allow tragedy to halt the immense undertaking. Resolutely, he amassed huge amounts of food and weapons to support the exodus. His scouts scoured for pathways, returning with troubling news. To reach rich Gaulish territory, their massive column, more than 300,000 strong, men, women, and children, would need to cross Roman territory itself or journey painfully through northern mountain passes. Divico decided to petition Rome, asking General Caesar, now firmly in command, for peaceful passage through Roman-controlled lands. This, Caesar realized, was exactly the opportunity he had prayed for. He could now posture as Gaul's protector against barbarian invasion. To buy precious time, Caesar feigned diplomacy, his legion laboring day and night to erect a fortification nearly 5 meters high and stretching for 20 miles along the bank of the Rhône. On the 15th day, embankment completed and manned by Roman troops, Caesar coldly refused Divico. The outraged Helvetii attempted to ford the river on makeshift rafts anyway, but Caesar's men swiftly drove them back with volleys of arrows and spears. Forced to find another route northward, the Helvetii wound slowly through the treacherous mountains. Caesar swiftly returned to Italy and brought 4 additional legions northward, over 30,000 battle-ready men eager for conquest and plunder. By the time De Vico and his tribesmen descended into the lush fields of open Gaul, Caesar, cunning warrior and strategist, was secretly delighted. The Helvetii had provided the excuse to intervene directly. The Helvetii warriors, hungry and desperate, began raiding Gaulish villages for provisions, prompting the Gaul tribes to beg Rome for aid. Caesar promptly marched north, positioning his army near the Arar River, where the Helveti's huge migration had slowed to a crawl during its crossing. Seizing the moment, Caesar ordered his legions to attack immediately. Caught unprepared, the Helvetii panicked, hundreds of warriors struggling vainly to form lines as Roman legionaries ruthlessly cut them down at the riverbank. Victorious, but still cautious, Caesar chased after the retreating Celts. Minor skirmishes harassed both sides. But Caesar desired an outcome beyond mere small-scale clashes. Soon, though, an unfortunate miscommunication prevented a carefully planned ambush. Shortages mounted in Caesar's ranks, forcing him towards the settlement of Bibracte to resupply. Here, sensing weakness, De Vico counterattacked violently, sending thousands of warriors dashing against Caesar's rearguard. Caesar, unshaken by this bold provocation, ordered his infantry and cavalry to hold the enemy at bay as his main force quickly ascended a nearby hill, occupying favorable ground. 4 veteran legions formed 3 disciplined rows at the hill's base. The 2 newly enlisted legions placed higher upon the slope to guard the camp and provide the illusion of Rome's vast strength. The Helvetii tribe was enormous in numbers, their warriors numbering possibly 80,000, challenging Rome's half that force. Caesar's veteran legionaries watched grimly as the enemy slowly marched forward, a formidable Celtic shield wall protected by interlocked wooden and bronze barriers. Caesar gave his signal, shouting above the din of war horns and shouting warriors. The legionaries hurled javelins, the missiles embedding themselves into Celtic shields, trapping and rendering them cumbersome. Then, Caesar's men drew gladii and charged thunderously upon the Helvetii ranks. Roaring war cries filled the valley. For hours, infantry struggled in hand-to-hand combat. Roman discipline and armor matched against Celtic fury and bravado. Swords clashed, shields shattered, soldiers on both sides falling by the hundreds. Gradually, Caesar's steadfast men pushed the exhausted Helvetii warriors uphill toward defeat. Yet unexpected drama ignited once more. Fresh warriors from the Tulingi and fierce Boii tribes, previously guarding Helvetii baggage, surged onto the battlefield's flank. The Romans now faced dreadful encirclement. Recognizing the peril, Caesar swiftly committed his only available reserve, his third line of battle-seasoned veterans. Nightfall turned quickly into a nightmare struggle of clanging blade, desperate shouts, and the grim courage of fighters bathed in blood and mud. Finally, Roman determination proved superior. Step by agonizing step, Caesar's men pushed forward, forcing back the exhausted Celts. Exhausted and battered, the Boii and Tulingi retreated into their fortified camp, making their last stand behind wagons and wooden barriers. Here, under torchlit darkness, Caesar's troops fought their hardest struggle, an hour upon brutal hour of siege against fiercely determined defenders. But at last, with flames crackling through the hastily built wooden palisades, the Romans broke the Celts' fierce resistance, ending the bloody battle after 12 grueling hours. Only remnants, just a third of their once great migration survived, now limped back home, reluctantly bowing to Roman overlordship. Caesar had won his dazzling prize, victory, glory, and a foothold in Gaul. Back in Rome, his jealous rivals sensed Caesar's new power as his name spread quickly across the Mediterranean, whispered with awe and envy alike. Yet Caesar, restless and inexhaustibly ambitious, looked immediately beyond this recent victory. Riders brought urgent whispers. Fierce Germanic tribes crossed the Rhine River, rattling swords and terrifying peaceful Gaul settlements. At Bibracte, Caesar's soldiers rested briefly, a moment of quiet before plunging deeper still into conflict. Caesar understood clearly. The fierce saga of the Gallic Wars had only just begun.